Hey guys, CJ here, and well, I am finally home. What a wild time it has been for me to travel for 2.5 weeks in Japan and then to immediately leave for the major tomorrow, but it's for the playoffs, so hell freaking yeah. Safe to say there were some unexpected results coming into the playoffs, but thankfully most of them were contained to the how shall you say, upper part of the bracket, giving Faze kind of an interesting run, but we'll see. But starting from that positioning, we'll talk about Furia versus Pain. It is going to be the second match of the day on Thursday, but I'm starting with it as it carries a lot of weight for the players involved more than anything else. You know, it's a domestic match in the playoffs of the major, which is already a rare thing to see, and have Fallen returning to the playoffs for the first time in a very long time is also magical for anyone who's a significant fan of him, and that's just sick. And also, as everyone has already repeated a million times on other forms of social media, Snow is someone who grew up watching Fallen play in his prime. There's that photo flying around left, right, and center. And it's something that you could only really get in a sport like Counter-Strike. You know, it's a terrible comparison, but, you know, Braun playing with his kid, seeing people grow up to finally strike out against the heroes that inspired them and created the region that they come from is truly a heartwarming and awesome thing to see. But beyond that, additionally, it'll be a nice result for overall Pain and Big Uzera, who has been the rising IGL out of the region for the past couple of years. And I had them penned as the number one team coming out of potentially this hemisphere coming into this year, but they just overall failed to deliver on their potential through different struggles from both Kawez, Snow, and even Davideus having a couple fall-offs from what we would expect out of Chile and Elige. But both MIBR and Pain seemed to get their shit together for this major, and whether that is a commentary on the format or commentary on the teams falling apart at this point in the season, I'll leave that up for you to determine. But dropping Kawez, picking up DGT, who has been absolutely fragging out ever since his time, you know, in the 9Z camp. It'll be very interesting to see, and I do think that Pain will take this overall, but I will not say it will be easy, as Furia have been incredibly surprising since the additions of Yakinder and Molodoy, to say the least. Molodoy has shown a high individual level with the AWP, and Yakinder is showing some flashes of his pre-liquid form, where he's just running through walls and grabbing frags. And, you know, Fallen has been undeniably serviceable on the rifle, showing a far better level than someone such as, say, Cadian did during his rifle stint in Astralis. And more importantly to me, Serato and Yuri look phenomenal again. You know, Yuri for a while I think had a bit of a slump as he's Serato's right-hand man, so to speak. I don't think it's controversial to say that Serato is bigger and better than Yuri. And to see them starting to come back into shape could make this team something rather strange and magical. Who knows how Molodoy is going to develop as an opper? Who knows how this match overall is going to go? I believe it will go the way of Pain, but either way, the winner of this match sets themselves up to potentially be the underdog in the grand finals, as this entire side of the bracket, with the other match being, you know, Mongolz versus Faze, both of those teams are perfectly beatable. I'm not saying that it should happen, but I believe it should be, you know, either Mongolz or Faze to the grand finals from this side of the bracket, but we'll see when we get there. Now, sadly, in the first matchup of the day, and the less interesting matchup in my opinion, which is, you know, shocking coming into this major, I would have hyped up this type of matchup as, you know, two of the top 5 teams in the world going at it. But Spirit versus Mouz, I think, will be a rather one-sided affair. Mouz have been almost entirely underwhelming coming into this major. You know, they said that the practice was shit beforehand in an interview, which I didn't think it was going to be this bad, but they are far from the team that Mouz have shown that they are far from the team that we should expect from them this year based on the results that they have shown. More specifically, both Yimpat and Torzi are both sub 1.0 coming into playoffs for the event thus far, and that is pretty damning coming from one of the best and most explosive anchors in the world, and an opper who was starting to build a case for himself as easily a top 5 opper and potentially a top 3 opper if he was able to maintain the form that he was showing. But this seems to be more of a return to baseline, and that's just sad to see. On the other hand, Donkin Shiro. You know, Donkin Shiro. One more thing I will say about Mouz. They're showing a similar statistical lineup to what Faze did when they made grand finals last year, but they are not Faze. I'm just saying. Last year it was the twin riflers of Frozen and Rops at 1.07 coming into playoffs that would then carry them forward into an unexpected grand finals appearance. And Mouz have two riflers showing at 1.07 right now, being Exertion and Spinks. So if these players who have the quality to do so wake up at any point during these playoffs, it is not unexpected for them to make a deep run. But Donk and Shiro are the number 2 and number 3 highest rated players of this event thus far. Now, limited maps, yes. But to have them on form is very important, as the success from Spirit often is not derived from, Donk falling off. It is derived from the supporting cast around Spirit actually, showing up. The Choppers, the Zontixes, the Magixes. And if they do, they've shown themselves to be able to contend in big games. And I think that Spirit should easily clear Mouz this time around, despite Cyclone and his historic ability to have his teams be able to handle talismanic star player based setups. But I think it's just more likely that Spirit are going to crush them, which is rather funny because coming into this major, many people had Spirit not even pegged as the potential people to win it, but now many people are coming forward with their opinion that they could be the ones to take it all based on the uncertainty and form shown by the other teams. Beyond that, that's our first set of quarterfinal matchups, and I will see you guys tomorrow for the next one. I will be doing my best to post these videos about a day before the matchups and going over my opinions on them. I could make some corrections as well, as I am going to be in the Austin area, and my grand finals and semifinals matchup videos may take place with some guest appearances. But this is the quarterfinals day 1. See you there, everybody, and have a great day.